What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, I'm going to do another 7 round mock draft for the Houston Texans, but this time it's another challenge. I've done the Big Ten and the SEC this time. I don't feel like the Big 12 and the ACC are on par um, with the SEC and Big Ten, so I'm combining those two conferences in this video. So Big 12 and ACC players are going to be able to be selected. I'm not going to do any trades in this one because it is a challenge video, so the 9 draft picks that the Houston Texans have are the 9 that I'm taking headed into this one. And as you can see, there's not many options. You know, TJ Parker's an intriguing one there who doesn't fall to us. Peter Woods obviously would be a very nice pick there too. Um, but it's pretty much dominated by the Big Ten and the SEC. Obviously, you have your Texas Tech guys here from the Big 12, and I think that's somewhere you could look at with this first pick. Obviously, if you want to look to the offensive line, you can definitely do that. Maxie and Atcher could definitely be someone you consider. Blake Miller as well. And then on the interior offensive line, Sam Hecht had a great Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl does kick off in about 2 hours from now, so I'll be intrigued to see how players do from that. Keelan Rutledge, another guy that I do really like. But then, Kobe Baines is another one. It's really SEC Big Ten dominated. And with this first pick, you could have the idea of a Lee Hunter going there at 38 or 28. There's potential for that. I'm going to go with Blake Miller at tackle, though. I think you can address offensive tackle. And I think Blake Miller is a top 25 player in this class. I've said it multiple times. And I'm going to go with him with my first pick in this draft. Moving on to 38, I think this falls perfectly for me. Keith Abney is definitely an intriguing option just because of how good of a player he is. I think he is a first-round talent in this draft. But Maynard McNeil Warren goes there too. Not someone in the Big 12 or the ACC, so you can't really consider that. But here at 38, I think it's perfect for Lee Hunter to be here at this spot. I think the Texans can address their interior offensive line there. And yeah, I think a really good start to this draft so far. You've got one Big 12, one ACC guy. And I think Lee Hunter absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl. I think his draft stock is going to, rise up drastically throughout the entire draft process. And I think he'll end up being somewhere around the first round range. Maybe at 38 for the Texans could be an intriguing option. But I think he will end up somewhere in this late first round range for Lee Hunter. Same with Blake Miller. I think these are two players that could both go at 28, both could go at 38. You don't really know. But yeah, for me, I see it as Blake Miller being a first round pick. I see Lee Hunter slightly falling at the first round, maybe being at the fringe end of the first round to a team that needs defensive line, like the Houston Texans or the Chicago Bears there, who were able to get Kenyon Sadiq at 25. But we're here at 59 now. I think this, again, as I said, is a very solid start to the draft. You got Blake Miller, who's very good in the pass game, decent in the run game too, and can play true tackle for you. Played right tackle for Clemson, so he's going to be able to just plug and play as a starter there, with potentially losing Trent Brown for agency. And then Lee Hunter, just great at rushing the passer. On the interior of the defensive line, so I think the Texans could really utilize that, and he also has a very solid frame for an interior defensive lineman in comparison to his teammate in Skylar Gill-Howard. Here at 59, though, you've got the idea of bringing in a linebacker in Jake Golday, who's very good against the run. If that's something you want to plug, you could always go with Maxie Atcher, who had a very good Senior Bowl himself and can play true tackle as well, but then that's 3 tackles that you have right now. Unless you think you can move Blake Miller to guard, but I do think he's a true tackle. So, yet to be seen. But I think it would be intriguing to, just try that out. And bring in Ian Atcher, have a little bit of competition on that right hand side. So yeah, I'm going to double up on the offensive tackles in this one, bring in Maxie and Atcher right there. Golday does go at 62. The Bills, someone that I did want to fall to 69, but ultimately doesn't. I think Ian Atcher is a great pick, though. I really like the player that he is. Redshirt senior, just has really quick feet. Something that you can't really teach. He possesses, and I think he could. I don't know. If you have this draft, you'd have to move one of these to guard, and that's yet to be seen who it could be. I think Ian Atcher is more of a true tackle than Blake Miller is a true tackle, but I think Blake Miller is more of a true tackle than most of these players in the class. So, yeah, interesting. Brian Parker could be an intriguing option later in the rounds if he does fall. Um, and on the interior of the offensive line, I really like the idea of bringing in a Keelan Rutledge to Houston. So we'll see. But here at 69, Dominic Orange is here, which is a very intriguing option, but we already plugged up the interior of the defensive line. Obviously, you can't have enough there, so there is an option there. But I think I'm going to go with Mr. Michael Trigg here out of Baylor. Just a very solid receiving tight end out of Baylor, and decent in terms of a blocker. I know the grade's not that great, but it's better than what you think. He's just not really asked to block all that much um, because of Baylor's scheme. Sawyer Robertson is asked to throw the ball a lot. I think he threw the ball 505 times this season. Trigg was able to bring in 50 of those for about 700 yards. An explosive threat at the tight end position, so I'm going to go with him at 69 to hopefully develop a little bit. Here at 106, you see Brian Parker goes there at 102, which is a little bit annoying. Any other, I mean, Sam Roosh does go there at 94, someone that I really like as well. Just a good blocking tight end, and can also receive the ball a little bit too. So there's an intriguing option there. Justin Jolly, Sam Hecht, two other guys there too. Gerald Jackson Jr. was someone I was contemplating as well. I'm going to talk about him in a video coming soon, but I'm just trying to make it right now. It takes a couple hours to make uh, those videos that I talk about the players and go in depth about them. So that'll take a little bit, but here at 106, I think it's just time to pull the trigger. Obviously, Genesis Smith is intriguing, or Bud Clark. Um, and actually, mm, huh. I want to go Keelan Rutledge here, but I really like the idea of bringing Bud Clark to Houston. Um, so maybe I just waive my no trade. My no trade. I'm gonna go with Bud Clark here at 106, and then hopefully Rutledge is there, and he is. Okay, that works out perfectly for me. I think you need safety depth, and I think Bud Clark could definitely be very solid safety depth. Excuse me. Good in coverage. I'd say he's a lot better of a run defending safety than a coverage safety though. Um, but I think you can utilize him as a true safety in the NFL. You can see he's in the box a lot. Doesn't really line up deep. He's more of a nickel in college, but I think he will be able to play true safety in the NFL. Um, has the height and weight for it, has the frame, and definitely has the athleticism. Showed flashes at the Senior Bowl, and I think could be a really intriguing piece for this Texans to utilize alongside Kalen Bullock because we know we love running five defensive backs with Stingley, Lassiter, and then obviously Petrie at the nickel, and then Bullock, and then it was Jaden Reed this year, but I think you could definitely improve on that, and I think Bud Clark is an improvement on that. Anyway, though, here at 128, you could argue for Demond Claiborne here out of Wake Forest to address the running back need. Other running backs, Jamari Taylor's very decent in my opinion. I like the idea of bringing Desmond Reed for this type of challenge. I like the way he plays. I just think he's a little bit small. Terrion Stewart could be someone you want to bring in too. Didn't score this year and very old for a running back, but definitely has some decent carries in there for you. But I really like the idea of a Jamal Haynes or Dean Connors. I think Dean Connors or Adam Randall are some of my favorite guys down the board. That could definitely have an impact. Just Adam Randall, he's huge. 6'2", 235. Feels like he's 6'5". When you see him lined up to Diego Pavia in the Senior Bowl practices. Jaquez Moore, another intriguing option. I don't really think I'd pull the trigger on that, but yeah, running backs down the board that I like. I think I'm just going to pull the trigger on Keelan Rutledge here at 128. Um, as we move on to 165, you can see Kyle Lewis here at linebacker. I think that's the perfect pick, actually. Good in coverage, good in the run game. I would say it's a very similar year from 2025 to 2024. I think the production was just there a little bit more in 2024. Um, but yeah, perfect pick here to fall here. Kojiel goes there at 162. I think someone you could consider at 165 if you want to double up on tight end. Yeah, I think Kyle Lewis is a very intriguing option. I know we have a linebacker need, and I think that definitely fills that void here in the fifth round. And I'm going to pull the trigger on that. So, yeah, there's that. Kyle Lewis to the Texans. Good in coverage, good in the run game. I think could definitely step up and do a very solid role there for us. If we were able to get him in, I think definitely could be an EJ Speed replacement at the will. I think he could play the Sam too if you really want him to, the strong side linebacker. But I would consider him more of a will than what Toa does. So I think that would really complete our linebacking core if you don't want to bring back Don't want to bring back EJ Speed if you think he's asking for too much money, then go out and get yourself kind of loose, and I think he could be a coachable player. Here at 243, I'm going to pull the trigger here on Mr. Dean Connors if he is here, and he is down there at 281. Looked great in the Shrine Bowl, and definitely has collegiate production to back himself up. Almost 1,000 yards this year, about 800 2 years prior. Good in the zone, good in the gap scheme, and I think the Texans could definitely utilize him as a back. This would be hopeful that you do address running back in free agency and go get a Tyler Algier, a Brees Hall, a Kenneth Walker, something like that. But I think Dean Connors could definitely step up and do a very solid RB2, RB3 role for whatever team selects him. Same with a Adam Randall. Again, huge, and I think would be able to be developed into a little bit of a bell cow, switched positions throughout college, and now he lands himself as a running back, and I think he's finally found his footing there. So there is that. Here at 244, though, I think you could go Jerry Wilson here to be a backup corner, but I think that's more of a backup nickel than anything with the size that he does possess. Um, if you look to corner, you could look for another backup there if you really want to. I like trading Stukes more than anyone else. Daniel Harris is also here. He's another guy with a good frame and in the ACC, so he does fit this challenge. But I think Traden Stukes showed the best film of anyone this year. Later in the boards, you can see the grades. Um, just a little bit older, but definitely has a very solid frame. Um, and, that could be in consideration. You look at the defensive line if you want to add some depth. Brandon Cleveland is there. Um, Other than that, you got no one else. So that's really your only option unless you want to look to the edge and convert players. I think Brandon Cleveland's definitely decent depth there if you do want to bring him in. Other than that, you got Ben Bill, a guy that's just small, just really small. I think could move to linebacker in the NFL. Jackie Marshall's another one um, that has a D tackle frame in my opinion, just not the best tape at all. Um, there's definitely players that stand out on Baylor, and he definitely doesn't. Trey Smith is there, another great player for Arizona this year, and definitely has ideal edge rushing size. Just didn't get to the quarterback and have the production, but he has throughout college. Only played in a couple games for Arizona this year. I think he played in 5. So that could be an interesting option, especially if you want to move him to the interior. But I think I'm just going to pull the trigger on Mr. Brandon Cleveland there, because he definitely has that D tackle frame and can be depth for us. And you can't have enough depth because of the amount of injuries we had on that defensive line this past year. As you can see here, we are graded at a C. They really don't like the Blake Miller pick, but I actually really do like the Blake Miller pick, so that's the contrast. Um, but yeah, let me know what y'all think about this draft down in the comment section below. I think it's a good draft in terms of addressing all the needs, and you combine two of the um, conferences that what's it called? Two of the conferences that are kind of just shadowed by the SEC and the Big Ten nowadays, but would definitely be a super conference if you added them together, especially in the NFL draft. So, yeah, let me know what y'all think about these picks. I think it really ended up going great. So, yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.